Om Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Saraswatyaya Namaha. Om Shri Lakshmiyaya Namaha. Om Umay Namaha. Om Devi Bhagavati. In the one, the Rishi Sonak says, Sut, now return to your tale of how Ved Vyasa's son Sukdev was born. On Mount Meru, Vyas immersed himself in worshipping the Devi. The sacred syllable Vak never left his lips. He prayed for a son as pure, as lively, and as powerful as the elements themselves. He worshipped Devi and Shiv, the granter of boons. For 100 years, never eating, Vyas sat in a magical forest of Karnika trees on Meru, where Gandharvas and Kinnars, the greatest Munis, the Adityas, Vasus, Rudras, Maruts, and the Ashwin twins came. Vyasa's tapasya was so intense that soon his hair stood on end and resembled tongues of flame. The subtle fire of his penance swept through the universe, and Indra in heaven grew afraid. The lord of the Devs went trembling to Shiv and said, If Vyasa's tapasya continues, he will replace me as king in Devlok. Shiv laughed and said, The Muni is only praying for a son. He has worshipped the Parshakti and me for 100 years. It is time I gave him what he wants. Shiv appeared in glory before Vyas and said, Dvaipayan, I bless you with a son as pure as fire, earth, air, and ether, a boy who will be wise and brave and full of mercy. Vyasa's cry of delight rang among the golden peaks of Meru. He went back to his ashram, and now he felt the exhaustion of his long tapasya. He felt as hungry as a man who had not eaten for 100 years. Vyas fetched his arani sticks and began rubbing them together to make a fire so he could cook himself some food. As he rubbed, he wondered, How will I have a son when I have no wife? But how can I marry when I know perfectly well what bondage even the most chaste woman is? Perhaps my child will be born like fire is from these sticks. Even as he was lost in these reflections, he saw a woman who was seductiveness embodied. She was Ghritachi, queen of the Apsaras. The lovely nymph trod air before the Rishi's eyes and wore a diaphanous garment that barely covered her shimmering nakedness. She smiled at Vyas. The continents of 100 years erupted in his blood, and the Muni was afire. Kritachi began to unwind the sheer raiment she wore. Her breast came into view, and Vyas felt like a lost man. He struggled desperately with himself, but each moment his flesh was proving stronger than his poor spirit. Vyas shut his eyes, but he saw her behind his eyelids. He told himself that if he took the Apsara, as every cell in his body wept too, he would not find happiness but sorrow for himself. Why poor Vyas even reminded himself of Pururavas and Urvashi to save himself from folly? Says Sut, pausing with a slight smile on his austere face. Into his brief silence, one of Sonak's rishis asks, Who were Pururavas and Urvashi, good Sut? Why was Vyas reminded of them when he saw Ghritachi? Tell us now before we forget to ask later. I heard this tale from my master, says Sut. Brihaspati, as you know, is the guru of the Devs. He is also their priest. Once his lovely wife Tara saw Som, the moon, and was smitten by that Dev. Som saw Tara, and he too lusted madly after her. He flowed in through her window one night, and they fell together upon her bed while her husband Brihaspati was away. Their lovemaking was so rapturous that Tara eloped with the moon and began living in his home. And he, expert lover, pleased her in every imaginative way that her austere husband had neglected to do. Poor Guru was beside himself at not seeing his young wife. He would do anything to have her back. He sent his Shishya Angiras to Som, begging him not once but many times to return Tara. When Som sent Angiras back empty handed again and again, Guru went himself in a rage to confront the sinning moon. I am your master, Brihaspati cried in fury to the arrogant Som. You are committing a Mahapap. Vicious Som, return my wife to me or I will curse you. Som answered insouciantly, Guru, anger is a great sin also. Tara will surely come back to you. What harm is there if she stays in my home for a few days more? After all, no one forces her to remain. She stays here by her own choice, to enjoy herself a little. Brihaspati went back, his heart in anguish for his young wife, his mind tormented with visions of her in the moon's arms, in every posture of flaming love. But in a few days he was back at Som's gates, roaring at the guards when they barred his way. Brihaspati cried, Give my Tara back to me or I will turn you into ashes. Som came out and said haughtily, Devguru, why waste your breath? Tara is too young for you. She is too beautiful. What will you do with a woman like her? She is too spirited for your ascetic ways, old one. Better marry yourself an uglier, less passionate woman. From what she tells me, you know nothing of making love, and she wants to be made love to all the time. Som laughed in his master's face. Moreover, you are so full of lust yourself that your curse will hardly affect me. Do what you like, Tara stays here with me. Trembling, Brihaspati crept away from there. He went to Indra's palace. Concerned to see his master so distraught, Indra asked, What ails you, master, when all the devs are your shishyas? In a low voice, Brihaspati confessed, Som has abducted my Tara and refuses to return her to me. Indra, help me. Outraged, Indra sent a clever messenger to Som. The messenger said to the moon, My lord Indra says to you, Som, what sin is this you commit against your own Guru? You have 28 delectable wives. Menaka and her apsaras are yours to enjoy. Return Tara to her husband. When a lord of heaven commits such a sin, shall lesser beings not imitate him? Dharma will be lost to creation. Relent, Soma, give Tara back. But Soma was addicted to Tara's velvet body, her long caresses. He replied roughly to Indra, My lord, such pure advice from you of all people? But Indra, Tara loves me. How can I abandon her? How will Brihaspati's home to be a happy one when his wife will always be thinking of me? The truth is, our perfect Guru made love to his younger brother Samvart's wife. Ever since Tara has been unhappy, and my lord, how does the thousand-eyed Indra give such fine advice about chastity when all the worlds know how he got his 1,000 eyes? I will never give Tara back. Indra's 1,000 eyes turned crimson as Kimsuk flowers when he heard Som's message. He summoned his awesome host to attack the renegade moon. But Shukracharya, the guru of the Asurs, saw a chance to pit the demons, ancient enemies, against each other. Moreover, Shukra hated Brihaspati. He flew straight to Som and offered him the legions of darkness to resist Indra. When Shiv learned of Som's perfidy, he came to fight at Indra's side. War broke out, the first between the Devs and Asurs, and it lasted 1,000 years. Blood to fill a sea was spilt on diverse fields. Finally, Brahma went to Som and said, If you do not stop this madness and give Tara back, I will have Vishnu raise your army. As for you, Acharya Shukra, I am astonished at you. Shaken at Brahma's anger, Shukra relented and advised the moon to return Tara. He said to Som, Your father, the Maharishi Atri, sent me. He says you must give Tara back. It was the only argument that would have persuaded the moon. Tara was sent back to an ecstatic Brihaspati, who welcomed her home with tears in his eyes. But she was pregnant by Som. The armies of the Devs and Asurs disbanded and went back to wherever they had come from. Shiv left his guns for Kailash, and Brahma went home to Brahmalok. Brihaspati was delighted to have his wife home again and spent some tender months with her. Then she gave birth to a splendid child, and the Devguru was beside himself with joy. But suddenly there arrived a messenger from Som, who said, "The child is mine. Give him to me." Brihaspati replied, "He looks like me. He is my son. He stays with me." Again, teeming armies gathered and they prepared for war. Brahma arrived in Brihaspati's home and asked Tara privately, "Tell us, woman, whose is this child? Only you can prevent another war." Bending her head in shame, Tara said softly, "He is Som's son." Brihaspati would not allow that child to remain an hour in his home, and Som took him in great joy. Tara was punished for her sin by being parted from her son and wept bitter tears. Som named his son Budh and set him up in the sky. The armies of darkness and light disbanded again, and a dreadful war was averted, the soothsayers. Puzzled, the Munis asked, "But what has this to do with Pururavas and Urvashi?" Fearless Sooth, "Why, the ancient king Pururavas was Som's grandson. He was Buddha's son.